Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is getting in shape to debate President Joe Biden, literally. Let's watch.
Okay. Let's go. That's a fit boy.
RFK Jr. tweeted yesterday, "As president, I will restore America as the global example of health and well-being, not through pills or syringes, but through character and self-discipline. And I will continue to walk the walk and lead by example. Americans gained an average of 29 pounds during the COVID lockdowns. I will help turn this around by encouraging our citizens to exercise, eat well, and fortify their immune systems by removing harmful chemicals from our food."
This comes as a new poll shows 2 in 3 are concerned for President Biden's mental and physical health.
Yeah, and this is in pretty stunning contrast to the push-up moment that happened during the Biden 2020 campaign. I don't know if you remember, but he was confronted by someone at an event, a town hall of some kind, who was challenging him on Hunter Biden's work for a Ukrainian gas company and whether that was untoward and implicated Joe Biden. And Joe Biden hit back by, in part, challenging him to a push-up competition. I think we have that clip as well.
Let him go. Look, the reason I'm running is because I've been around a long time and I know more than most people know. And I can get things done. That's why I'm running. And you want to check my shape on it, let's do push-ups together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's take a 90 step.
So at the time, some people criticized him by saying that kind of machismo, challenging people to push-up contests, saying "listen, fat" wasn't exactly presidential or what we wanted from candidates. What is going on here? Is this a heel turn where we're now celebrating, so many people are celebrating RFK Jr.? What's going on here?
I mean, so at first we just have to be honest. He looks very good for his age. He's in incredible shape. I don't know what his routine is, if it's just working out or what the deal is, but I would love to be in good shape when I'm that age, so good for him. That doesn't affect who I would vote for or support in any way whatsoever.
You don't have a lifting litmus test for your presidents?
No, and if people put any stock in who could beat who up or do more push-ups in anything but the most philosophical, again, who would win in a fight. I love having those kinds of pretend philosophical.
So you're not going to watch Zuckerberg versus Musk either.
Yeah, well, that's what I was coming to today. What is this moment where we're just challenging people to fight or something?
Yeah, look, it feels sort of regressive. I think that we can live in a world where we appreciate the physical fitness and health and well-being of presidential candidates while not making it somehow a weird attribute to their ability to being a good president of the United States.
But RFK there didn't say it. He said, "I'm getting in good shape," and showed some videos. No, he didn't. It wasn't a confrontational. Actually, it wasn't nearly as confrontational as Joe Biden's own remarks to a random town hall participant.
I agree. I think Biden's were actively problematic, and RFK Jr.'s is a neutral good.
Yes. Agreed.
But I did see some conversation happening about what this means for female candidates, for instance. If we're in this world where there's this kind of boys club atmosphere where Elon Musk is having RFK Jr. on, and he says he'll have any candidate on, but has ignored Marianne Williamson's taking him up on that request. If it does seem like everyone's just going on everybody's podcast and they're smoking cigars with Bill Maher and doing all of this sort of thing, is that creating a space that is
for Bill Maher?
Sure. But is that creating a space that is kind of perpetuating a very narrow range of who possibly could be president and what kind of attributes we're looking for in candidates?
I guess, which is just to be clear, it's the views of the candidates that matter to me and should matter to everyone. I don't want COVID mandates and lockdowns, and I want a more sane foreign policy. I want some economic things that you probably don't agree with, and I'm going to support whoever is most in line with those things, regardless of how many push-ups they do or what they smoke or whoever.
But Robby,
it doesn't matter.
We know that you're not necessarily everyone, and the kind of do I want to have a beer with them metric has long been something that's bandied about when discussing whether or not folks are going to come out and vote for a given candidate. And I do think there's something approachable and likable about.
Why does the candidate who gets to we had Hillary and Trump, two of the most just universally reviled people as our candidates. and then Joe Biden and Trump, which is not, if it's an improvement over Hillary Trump, it wasn't by very much.
Yeah, but look at the 2016 Republican field. Name one person you would rather have a drink with in that group over Donald Trump.
I don't have a drink with Donald. Donald Trump doesn't drink. Donald Trump doesn't give, I would be fun to hang out with vibes, do you think? You know, tell me in the comments if you disagree, people. If there are people out there who obviously there are people out there who worship Trump, but I don't know if it's I could see myself hanging out with him kind of worship. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if you disagree.
Get myself in trouble. But if my options are having a dinner with Donald Trump versus Carly Fiorina or Ben Carson or Chris Christie or Jeb Bush or whomever else was, Nikki Haley, whoever else was in the running back in 2016.
I'm going to come off like a weird never Trumper, anti-Trumper. I would rather have dinner with any of those people.
Are you serious?
For sure.
There's a 0% chance that dinner with Trump would not be deeply entertaining.
Well, when he gives a speech, he is. When he, I don't know if he's.
Okay, apparently you're going to give up the opportunity if it comes down the pike to sit down for a Big Mac and fries with the former president.
Again, that's not my style.
All right, but this is a little besides the point. I mean, it's worth noting that some people very much push back against this. Some people were saying that he wasn't actually lifting very much at all. One viral tweet by author Olufemi Otairo said, "Seeing this tweet about a steroid user doing less than a plate for 8 struggle reps has finally convinced me that there's a crisis of masculinity. We must make America lift again." There were some people making the allegation that his fitness was the result of steroid use as opposed to actually working out, and they used as evidence the fact that he wasn't lifting apparently very much or doing very many reps. RFK Jr. did respond at one point saying that he was at the end of his rep cycle for push-ups at least, and that he can do many more than that.
That's a classic. When you come into the kitchen before the show and I'm doing 999, 1,000. I mean,
it does, look, I do wonder about what the popularity of this sort of thing says about our ideas about masculinity, broadly speaking, in a way that it's not RFK Jr.'s fault at all, but why this sort of thing goes so popular, goes so viral, whereas, other attributes that I think I would like to see in a presidential candidate, like, I don't know, emotional maturity, sensitivity, perhaps spirituality, are not valued in those same sorts of ways, or at least by the people who are platforming presidents. And I think that's going to have a long-term effect. But
Joe Rogan cares about fitness and fighting and things like that. I mean, you can care about those things in a totally healthy way, right? There are healthy
Colonel
ways
West has
to
got to get rid of
demonstrate one's masculinity.
that suit, that penguin suit, and put on some workout shorts. But
you can't be inauthentic. I mean, it's authentic when it comes from a Joe Rogan and Joe Rogan type people. And there's an authentic. Like if I started trying to preach on this show about working out and body, no one would believe it coming from me. So it has to be. And I do work out. I work out every morning.
Let's talk about that, because not you're working out every morning, but this idea that there are spaces that, of course, would validate different kinds of personalities, right? Different focuses that are not just working out. But let's say candidates spend a lot of time in the Oprah universe or the Brene Brown universe, or some of these more gender female-coded or sensitive or spiritual, mystical, whatever you want to call them, places. I think that what we know that candidates have been actually stigmatized for living in those spaces, being proximate to those spaces, even though those spaces are very, very popular. So, Marianne Williamson in particular comes out of, was the Oprah universe. She doesn't like to be described as Oprah's spiritual advisor, but she has been described as that in the past. Dr. Oz similarly did not seem to be benefited by that relationship in the least in his run for Senate. And so it is interesting that it almost feels like some people have to forgo the platform that they came up on. They have to forgo the reach that can come from those kinds of platforms because they're not broadly acceptable or seen as a net value in a broader realm outside of that, whereas some of these things like fitness seem to have broader social traction, or at least according to the people who are running politics or commentating on politics.
But it depends what you did in that space. Like Dr. Oz, for instance, I think he gave a lot of bad diet, etc. advice.
Sure. Some people would say the same thing of RFK Jr. or Joe Rogan.
Right.
I mean, that's the criticism they get, right?
Well, and they're not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people are reacting against them. A lot of people thunderously condemning both or misinformation, allegedly, et cetera. I saw that there were 2 more hit pieces over the last 24 hours or over the weekend. Atlantic interviewed RFK Jr. all about how he's the Elon Tucker Bannon candidate or something. The Daily Beast, of course. They're going to continue to lay into him exactly for having all the associations you mentioned.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to soon be treated to Gavin Newsom's workout routine. How many reps can you do, Robby?
Political candidates, feel free to keep your shirts on and just propose good policies. That's enough for my vote, but maybe you out there feel differently. More Rising right after this.